Think about some of the biggest inventions that have totally changed our world. From the airplane that gave us wings to the internet that connects, well, everything. So many of them trace their roots back to the United States.
But that begs a huge question, right? Why here? Is it just a coincidence, or is there some kind of secret recipe? You know, a unique mix of ingredients that turned America into this powerhouse of creativity. Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and figure out exactly what that recipe is.
It all starts with these massive, world-altering ideas. I mean, take the airplane, an invention that literally defied gravity and completely changed our map of the world. Then you have the impossibly small, the microchip. This tiny little piece of silicon that is, no exaggeration, the heart of our entire digital world.
And of course, the thing that ties it all together, the internet, a global web that started as a government experiment, and now it basically defines modern life. You see, these aren't just happy accidents. They're all products of a very specific system.
So where do we even begin to unpack this system? Well, the first layer wasn't cooked up in some shiny Silicon Valley lab. No, it was forged way back in the 19th century with the brute force of the Industrial Revolution.
And you can really see how one thing just built on the next. First, you get factories, totally changing how things are made. Then, railroads crisscross a massive continent, moving everything and everyone faster than ever before. This whole setup created the perfect stage for these great inventors to step in and solve the new problems of a country that was just exploding with growth.
Honestly, it was like the perfect storm of ingredients. You had tons of raw materials, a population that was growing like crazy, creating constant demand, and a culture that really valued practical, roll-up-your-sleeves kind of problem-solving. This was the era of giants like Thomas Edison and Alexander Graham Bell.
But look, industry and resources, that's just part of the story. The next essential layer is the human one. The US basically became a magnet for ambitious, talented people from all over the world, and that added a powerful new fuel to the fire.
This is what we call the melting pot of ideas. And it's not just about having more people, it's about having more perspectives. Suddenly, you had problems being attacked from dozens of different angles. This created a kind of creative friction that sparked incredible new solutions in businesses the world had just never seen before.
And this brings us closer to today, because the very idea of what an innovator is started to change. We went from that classic image of the lone genius, Edison in his workshop, to something totally different. Innovation became less about one person and more about a whole system. A startup team, usually working on digital stuff, backed by venture capital, with ideas often born out of university research.
And that brings us to the third, and maybe the most powerful layer of all, the creation of a systematic engine designed to take innovation and scale it up. This is where individual sparks of genius get organized into a roaring fire. This pipeline has pretty much defined American innovation for the past 70 years. It starts with pure foundational research at top universities. Then, government agencies like DARPA step in to fund the really risky what-if projects that no company would touch. Once an idea shows it has legs, venture capital swoops in with the cash to scale it up, turning a small startup into a global giant like Apple or Google that brings the technology to the masses.
And hey, this isn't some abstract theory. This is literally the stuff in your pocket right now. Satellites, spurred on by the space race. The GPS that tells you where to go started as a military tool. Even the internet itself began as a DARPA project. The government laid the groundwork, and then private industry came in and built on top of it.
Okay, so we've got the industrial base, the diverse minds, and the systematic engine. But there's one more layer, an intangible element that's kind of the secret sauce for the entire recipe, and that's the culture.
Just think about this mindset. Failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough. Now, in many cultures, failure is a huge deal, a source of shame. But in the American innovation scene, it's often seen as a badge of honor. It's proof that you tried something big. It's just a necessary step on the road to success.
This freedom even has a name, permissionless innovation. It's a bit of a fancy term, but the idea is really simple and incredibly powerful. It means you don't have to ask for permission to try something new. You can just go do it. This cultural green light is what lets entrepreneurs test, fail, and pivot at lightning speed.
So if you were to break down this mindset, it would look something like this. A huge appetite for taking calculated risks, but it's balanced by a culture that celebrates the huge wins and, crucially, also tolerates the failures.
It's this specific mix that keeps the whole engine humming.
So, let's recap our secret recipe. It all starts with that strong industrial foundation from the 19th century. On top of that, you pour in a diverse melting pot of ideas from all over the globe. Then, you build this interconnected engine of universities, government, and private capital to scale those ideas up. And finally, you marinate the whole thing in a culture that doesn't just tolerate risk, but actually encourages it.
When you put all those pieces together, the history, the diversity, the institutions, and the culture, you get the recipe that created the modern world. It's what worked for the last century and a half. But it leaves us with one massive, fascinating final question. What's the recipe that's going to shape